coming. I freaking love getting a chance to connect and hang out with everybody with Nerd Fitness and in the Rebellion. So anytime I get a chance to do something like this, seems like a lot of fun. And hopefully this thing works out and I only screw up half of the time and everybody has a good time and we can actually start doing this on a somewhat regular basis, either once a week or every other week or something like that, or even whenever we just get a chance. It'd be great. So let's see. Pessimistic dieting is the question. I'm trying to starve myself or trying to eat very little. Now I see why your username is pessimistic. That is not the right way to do it. And you are, I understand what you're thinking, because dieting is one of those things where, you're told just eat less and move more. And as a result of doing that, you're going to lose weight. Unfortunately, when you start eating less and less and less, you start to have less and less and less energy. And as you start to move more and more, you start to require more energy. So rather than just eating less or starving yourself, which is absolutely the wrong way to do it, instead, I recommend you change things up a little bit. Pick one thing in your diet that you think you can change. If you're a big soda drinker, or if you eat a lot of cookies or something on the side, try switching out one of those things on a weekly basis. Would be awesome. And once a week, every couple of weeks, maybe pick one more thing and make a change there. Instead of starving yourself, I would make a shift and change the quality of food. And like I said, do it in slowly but surely along the way. I think that's a much better plan than crash dieting and starving yourself and eating way less. And as a result of that, you're going to be miserable and pessimistic and then jump all the way back in to what you were eating before, and you're going to kind of fall back on what you were doing. Let's see. We got some new people jumping in here. Kelly Schrock, Colpacia, Capia. Yeah, totally butchered that one. Lauren Wade's here. Lauren, did you buy your tank top yet? Hopefully, yes. Everybody can thank Lauren Wade because he was the one that requested tank tops repeatedly until we finally said, okay, we'll make you tank tops. And Hammy's here. Hammy, what's going on? So this is kind of weird, but these questions kind of come in a little slowly. And then like a whole bunch comes in at once, and then a bunch of them disappear. So if you ask a question and I don't see it for a little while, I'm sorry, but I get a chance. I'll make sure I do what I can to answer everybody. Hopefully I can hang out for like the next hour, 90 minutes. Depends on how long you guys want to stick around and how long my voice holds up. So let's get started. Let's see. I see a question down here. Copacia. Hopefully I'm saying that right. If not, you can yell at me later. Struggling after work, carb binges, tired, defenses down. What's the best defense? Interesting. I would find out first, like, how is your eating for the rest of the day? Like, if you eat a great breakfast and a great lunch, then after work, that energy might not be nearly as much of an issue. Or the other thing, and I realize this might sound counterintuitive, like if you're exhausted, then exercise might not feel like the thing you want to do. But if you can kind of force yourself to get started, I know when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I try to do, I get my workouts done in the morning. And for those first couple of minutes, I'm really sluggish, probably feeling just like you feel after work. But after you get going, after your blood gets pumping, by the time that workout is done, I'm actually full of energy. So, you get a little less tired and you get your workout in. So I'm not sure what part of the day you're working out, whether it's morning or afternoon or whatever, but I would put a lot more effort into seeing what you're eating during the day, so that when you come home from work and you're tired and your defenses are down, instead of settling into that rhythm that you might have, which is maybe come home, sit down on the couch, watch TV, and grab some food, which might be habit forming. Maybe you're not necessarily hungry. Maybe that's just what you're used to. After a long day of work, you're exhausted, and you look to food and TV and couch as comfort. Instead of that, when you come home from work, go for a walk. Before you can sit down on the couch, make yourself do some exercise, or make yourself go out and do something a little bit more active than just staying at home and working on that. So what I would do to summarize would be put a little bit more effort into how you're fueling yourself for your lunch. If you can have a really healthy, big lunch, and big, I mean, lots of fruits. I'm sorry, lots of protein and healthy fats. Really fill you up and make you feel full without being a ridiculous amount of calories. And then when you come home from work, instead of sitting down on the couch and going for food, get your butt outside and go work out, and and kind of train yourself to change that habit. Let's see, Patrick. What's up, Patrick Wallace? Lord of the Rebellion. All right, I'll take it. First and foremost, you say that you are down from 265 pounds to 230 pounds. First and foremost, dude, congratulations. Any chance you get, head to a gym and pick up a 35-pound dumbbell and just carry it around for like 5 minutes. 35 pounds is not light, so congratulations. That's really awesome. Let's see. You're stuck kind of hovering at the 230 mark. Any suggestions on how to boost yourself? Yeah, honestly, I think what would be great for you, I'm guessing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but initially probably that 35 pounds came by just eating a little bit less. And, depending on how heavy people are, when they start to eat less calories, automatically that's going to start to bring their weight down. However, once they get to a certain point where the quality, the quantity of food hits a certain level, just eating less doesn't necessarily work beyond that. So instead of just trying to eat less and move more, like we're saying, I'm a huge fan personally of strength training and adjusting the types of food that you're eating. So you're down to 230. At this point, I would say see if you can make an adjustment. Once a week, add an extra vegetable in, or cut out one source of grains or one source of unhealthy carbohydrates that you're eating, and flop it for some more protein or some healthier fats or something like that, so that you can kind of kickstart your metabolism again and get it back on track from where it is right now. It's kind of hovering at this 230 mark. And if you're eating less, it might be thinking, I don't have enough food to survive, therefore I'm going to hold on to every calorie that I have, which is why a lot of people kind of get stuck and they can't break out of that plateau. So I would recommend changing up the quality of the food that you're eating. And I realize that's much easier said than done. So instead of just saying like, oh, dude, just start eating way more vegetables and meat and healthy fats, like that's, it's much easier said than done. So instead of that, work on just making small, tiny changes. Nerd Fitness is built around those principles. And I think you're really close to it anyway. I think if you've already been able to lose 35 pounds, you've proved to yourself, and you've already proven to yourself that you can do it. So now it's just making a couple of small changes here and there, and we can get you right back on track. And like I said, you're already on track, so we're just making sure we're sending you down the right path moving forward. And we can help you get those 5 pounds, and we can get you a Nerd Fitness shirt, and then you can send us your photo doing something epic, and we can post it on Nerd Fitness, and you can be a rebel hero. Ooh, okay, yeah, so they just sent me like 40 questions all at the same time. Oh, there we go. Hey, Colleen. It's okay. Let's see. Paige is in here. Hey, Paige, what's going on? Let's see what else we got here. I want to start a travel blog related to fitness and paleo diet in other countries. Any tips? Video or written blog? Specifically, if you're headed to Asia, I think it depends on the country. Just to address the last part of that question, video or written blog. Uploading a lot of video can be a really big challenge if you're in a third world country. That being said, a lot of Asia is really connected. So depending on where you are, if you're in like a tiny village somewhere, then obviously doing a lot of video isn't going to be an option. But if you're in like a major city in Asia or jumping around, a lot of Southeast Asia has really great Wi-Fi, believe it or not. So video might be an option for you. It depends on how comfortable you feel in front of a camera. Whether you enjoy writing or not is a great place to start. On top of that, I've learned through my 2.5 years of traveling and living out of a backpack and also running Nerd Fitness that if you're trying to build a business or if you're trying to make a name or build a brand, the best thing you can do for yourself is make it about your reader. I think Nerd Fitness definitely there's a difference between the post when it's about myself or about my travels and trips and when I write about specifically helping the reader get something that they want and help them reach their goals. And those are the posts that honestly are way more fulfilling for me. If you're interested in, if it's a travel blog and you're just looking to document your stuff and build up a following, that's one thing. But if you're looking to turn it into a business, then I think you would be a lot better focused if you could make sure your content is focused on helping the reader being a traveler and still eating properly. A site that you could check out who does a great job with it, her name is Jody, and she runs legalnomads.com. and she has celiac disease, but she's like a permanent traveler. So she does a lot of things with food and where she loves to eat and how she can eat, specifically without eating gluten and things like that. How do you fight cravings for junk food? Sheer willpower or those techniques you can recommend? Junk food's tough, man. I think honestly, junk food is addictive, but it's also very habit. It's habit forming. Like we build this habit loop in our system where we feel like we want something, then we start thinking about it, and then our brain thinks, because of the 100 times in the past when you think junk food and then go get junk food, your body already starts to kind of salivate, almost like Pavlov's dog. It's like you hear the bell ring and all of a sudden you start drooling because you think you're going to get this junk food. So you need to break the cycle somewhere. The best advice I could give you there would be to drink a lot of water. A lot of times cravings for junk food, or a lot of cravings and hunger and things like that come as a result of you actually being thirsty and your brain just kind of crossing some wires there. So make sure you're drinking a lot of water. If you're craving junk food, it's probably because you're hungry. So instead of eating a poor meal or running to junk food, try to eat like a really, really nutritious big meal that leaves you so full that even a couple hours later, you're still not interested in eating junk food. And on top of that, take your mind off of it. Like if you're just sitting around and you're thinking junk food, junk food, junk food, junk food, there's not much you can do. But if you go out for a walk or you get out of the way where you can't even think about junk food, go do a new activity, something out like that. Then I think you'd have a much better option or much better opportunity to kind of cut those cravings back. Now, your other option, I would say, you can also do the whole cold turkey thing where you just cut junk food out completely. It works for some people, just like some people quitting smoking. It works out with going cold turkey. However, in my opinion, I think it's a much easier change, and you don't have to go through that really unhappy, unhealthy detox point by slowly cutting back, like limiting the amount of food that's available to you. And if it's junk food, don't keep it in the house or only have a small bit of it with you at work or whatever it is, but do everything you can to cut back the amount of willpower that you need to use on that junk food. You can actually check out an article I've written. I think it's called How to Finish What You've Started, and I talk about willpower and how it's a finite resource and things like that. Let's see. Colleen works out at 5:30 in the morning, which makes sense, probably why you're really exhausted and tired and worn down at 5 p.m. when you come home from work. I'd be interested, can you tell me a little bit more about your eating schedule? So if you're up at 5:30, what's your work schedule like, and what is your habit when you come home? Do you have a particular habit or routine you come home from work? Let's see, Dropkick Smurf, which might be my new favorite username of all time. I started 100% paleo, second week of January. Already lost 66 pounds. Holy crap. That's freaking awesome. Do you realize, like, 60? That's impressive. That's probably a couple Smurfs combined would not equal 66 pounds. So 100% congratulations to you on dropping 66 pounds. That's amazing. Please keep me updated and shoot me an email as things progress, because I absolutely love. Nothing makes me happier than hearing about success stories. So congrats. Patrick Wallace, all right, lifting heavy and eating paleo 100% for the past 4 weeks. I'm lifting 3 times a day, running at least 3. Interesting. I'd be interested to find out how many calories you're eating. With lifting 3 times a week, hopefully you don't mean lifting 3 times a day, but 3 times a week. Lifting 3 times a week and running 3 times a week. I would be interested in how many calories overall you're eating. You might even be actually overtraining and not getting enough food, because it is kind of tough to eat a ridiculous amount of calories with paleo. And you say you've been eating heavy in paleo for the past 4 weeks. In those 4 weeks, is that when you dropped to the 35 pounds, or was that 35 pounds over a longer back period of time? Let's see. Paige wants to know when I'm coming back to Texas. Great question. I don't know. Every year I keep saying I got to get to the South by Southwest thing, and I keep missing out on it. So maybe next year I actually have to put it in my calendar and make it happen. And yes, Jake agrees that Legal Nomads is awesome. Echoes of Wonder says, hey nerds. What's up, Echoes of Wonder? Yowza01 asks if I take any supplements. If so, what are they? Yeah, I take like Muscle Blaster 27 and Weight Gainer 43 and Diet Pill 4010, and then I mix in some steroids and things like that. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of steroids. Not a fan of steroids. Not a huge fan of supplements either, or steroids. Anyways, as far as supplements that I take, it depends. Depends on kind of my training schedule and what I'm working on. The one supplement that I do recommend, if you cannot get your protein from a quality protein source, I would say would be just a simple whey protein. And it's super basic. I have like a giant tub of, I use Optimum Nutrition vanilla flavored whey protein. And I use that, after working out. Specifically, I'm in a process right now. I'm trying to build muscle. I'm looking to pack on about 10 to 12 pounds of muscle over the next 8 to 12 months. And as a result of that, I need to make sure I get a lot of calories and a lot of protein. And the best way for me to do that right after working out, for convenience sake, would be a protein shake. So I'm a big fan of just a really, really basic whey protein. Like I said, I've been using Optimum Nutrition whey protein for a long time, and I totally support it, but don't feel like you need to take a supplement. You can totally get all the resources and vitamins and minerals and nutrients and things that you need from quality foods. But if that's not an opportunity, then there are some supplements that you can take. Specifically, whey protein, like I said, to make sure you get enough protein on a daily basis if you can't get it from other sources like meat, eggs, fish, chicken, beans, things like that. On top of that, I'm a big fan of, and there's conflicting information and resources out there on the validity and importance of it. But as a result of Tim Ferriss's, I think it was 4-Hour Body, just on a complete experiment basis, I'm taking, it's called Blue Ice Royal. It's butter oil and fermented cod liver oil. Sounds delicious, right? Believe it or not, it actually doesn't taste that bad. It's just, it's a pill, and essentially it provides you with a lot of healthy omega-3 fats. A lot of foods that we eat are very high in omega-6, and the theory behind it is if your ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 is way off, then it can cause some issues in your body. So by bringing your omega-3s back up and cutting back on your omega-6s, then you can kind of bring that back into balance. So I'm in the process of kind of testing that out right now. So those are the two, fish oil and whey protein. Anything beyond that, as far as like, crazy muscle building supplements or fat burning supplements or no explode or anything like that, honestly, I wouldn't touch it. It's not worth it to me. Whether or not, it's just not worth it, in my opinion, to risk taking something that is kind of unproven. So let's see. Hammy wants to know, how are plans for Nerd Camp coming? They're coming. Stacy, a team member, Nerd Fitness, from Nerd Fitness, Stacy, flew down to Nashville a couple weeks back, and we went and scouted out a location in the southeast down here that we're hopefully targeting for a spring 2014, essentially giant Nerd Fitness get-together. Still a lot of things that need to happen between now and then, but I really want to make that reality because I loved camp growing up, and I think a lot of people would love coming to a cool camp to learn about a lot of fun stuff about fitness and health, and having like water balloon fights and video game competitions. So essentially adult summer camp would be the best way I could describe it. Like I said, still a lot of things need to happen, and if certain locations don't work out, it might get pushed back, or we might have to change location. So keep an eye out on the site. We're hopeful that we can announce something within the next couple of months, hopefully within the next couple of months. But like I said, we're targeting probably spring 2014 for when we should be able to make that happen. Let's see. Hot Chica. All right, Hot Chica, what's happening? Any advice on how to make tough life decisions? I'm trying to decide between 3 different medical schools, and it seems like an impossible task. That's a tough question because I've never gone to medical school. I will tell you, I do have a lot of friends that are in medical school or have gone to medical school. And they were still able to get the job that they wanted when they came out, regardless of the school that they ended up at. Some of my friends ended up at Vanderbilt Medical School or at Emory Medical School, which are fantastic programs. And other ones ended up at medical schools that, I've very, very small medical schools in small states, and they still had a great time. Honestly, if you get a chance to go take a look at the 3 different schools, I think you'll get a hunch. Like, you'll feel something. And I'm a huge fan of, kind of going with your gut. And one of them hopefully will feel better than the other 2. In my opinion, when I picked my college and when I picked my second job before starting Nerd Fitness, I made the decision based on what felt right and not necessarily which one was the most prestigious or which one was the which one provided the most money or whatever. Money, at the end of the day, like if you can afford to pay to live where you are and put food on the table, happiness is the most important thing beyond that. And it doesn't matter how much money you make, and it doesn't matter how prestigious the school is, but if you're miserable, it's not worth it. So go with your gut. Don't worry about prestige. At the end of the day, you're still going to be able to get out, save people's lives, and make an impact on this planet. So don't overthink it too much. Pick the one that feels right, and don't look back. Let's see, Haley. I've lost weight with the goal of getting to a healthy weight. I think my body fat percentage is at a healthy point, but charts have acceptable and ideal. It drives me crazy. How do I know when I'm not fat? I would honestly not concern yourself with charts. I hate charts. I think, body fat percentage charts are one thing. Even then, I'm not a huge fan of it. And I hate BMI charts. Like, I think I'm technically considered overweight, and Stacy is considered obese. According to BMI at the moment, because it doesn't factor in body fat percentage at all. So charts, screw them. And more importantly, what I would say, look in the mirror. If you like how you look, awesome. You are at your ideal weight. Congratulations. If you think, your goal getting to a healthy weight, if you look in the mirror and you're happy and you wake up happy and you go to bed proud, like, okay, you're there. It doesn't matter what the chart says or where you're going. And if you feel like you need to lose a couple more pounds, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not because somebody else's ideals told you that you need to lose that weight, but because you feel like updating, you feel like leveling up yourself. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to improve your personal appearance. I think it's something we all do. I think it's kind of like hard-coded in our DNA to want to look better. I don't think look great naked. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it just needs to make sure it lines up with you also being happy and healthy, and kind of accepting like we are all different, and a chart does not define who you are. That number on the scale, the body fat percentage, whatever it is, does not, you are not that number. So don't put too much concerns into whether the chart says you're acceptable or ideal. That would drive me crazy too. So I honestly just stopped looking at charts. I have no idea what the chart says, or particularly what my body fat percentage is at the moment. I'm okay with that. I look in the mirror and I'm like, all right, things are good. And then you just, move on. So don't let it bother you too much. Lauren Wade says we need a Where's Steve map so we can stalk him. I don't know if you were around, Lauren, when we did have that, but I actually used to have a box on the website when I was living out of a backpack for 2.5 years. And honestly, the only reason I really updated it is because every time I would talk to my mom, her first question was like, what country or city are you in? And instead of me having to explain it to her every time, I just like, how about this? I'll just put a map on the site and I'll update it every time I get somewhere. And she actually really enjoyed that. I'm not sure where that map ended up, to be honest with you. But these days I'm a lot more mobile. A lot more permanent in my location. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee at the moment. Like, I have an apartment and I have furniture and things like that. And I'm okay with it. Like, after 2.5 years of just persistent, consistent, crazy, hectic travel and running Nerd Fitness and trying to stay healthy, I got really burned out. And I was looking forward to having an opportunity to stay in the same place for a while and really focus on myself and getting healthy, and really focus on the business and make Nerd Fitness into something world-changing. So I'm very excited to be here in Nashville. For those who don't know, I went to college in Nashville and fell in love with the city and decided to move back here about 6 months ago. And since then, like, I've absolutely loved it. I've not regretted my decision for 1 second. I got reconnected with my old entrepreneurship professors at my college, and they have me come in and talk to each of their new classes every time there's a new semester, and I get to tell them a cool story about how I hang out with a bunch of nerds online and travel the world and do a lot of fun stuff, and that's my business. So really excited to be here in Nashville. So Lauren, right now I am in Nashville, Tennessee. All right, let's see what else we got. Paige wants to know if I can come to one of the meetups Lauren and I are having, a nerd tour. Nerd tour sounds awesome. Quick, Stacy, go buy nerdtour.com so we can have it. Let's see, Echoes of Wonder, dumb question. Afraid of push-ups. So I started with wall push-ups. Do I need to look Do I need to look towards the ceiling to mimic floor push-ups? I'm trying to think. Like, I'm looking at my wall right now and trying to figure out whether or not that would be a good thing to do. Honestly, I think where your neck position is not necessarily like a really challenging opinion. I personally, I think I look straight down. I'm trying to think like the reverse equivalent would be like if my feet were up on a bench and doing push-ups that way. I do kind of tend to look up a little bit. But I wouldn't sweat over it if you don't mind looking straight at the wall. If you look up, you might be able to get a little bit closer to give you a little bit fuller range of motion. So maybe look up a little bit, but you don't need to crane your neck way back. Hammy, retreat planning admin. All right, looks like we'll be talking. Laura, not a huge fan of vegetables. I hear you. Up until, I want to say, what am I, 28 now? I want to say when I was 21, 22, I didn't eat, like, senior year of college, I don't think I ate vegetables. Like, I was just like, ooh, I'm not interested. I don't like them. So then I just started trying, like, a little bit here and there. Like, if somebody had vegetables at dinner, I'd be like, hey, can I try one? Like, I would kind of jump around and try a little bit of every other vegetable out there to see if there was any of them that I actually enjoyed. And for me, the keystone vegetable for myself was asparagus. It was like, you know what? I learned to cook asparagus. I remember having it, I got a steak or something and it came with asparagus. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I ate it. I was like, oh, you know what? This isn't too bad. Like, I actually kind of really enjoy this. So then I learned to cook asparagus, and that was the only vegetable I ate for like a year. It was just all asparagus because that was the vegetable that worked for me. Since then, now I mix in like onions and peppers and broccoli and all sorts of things, but I added literally one vegetable at a time. On top of that, it also depends on how you are preparing the vegetables. Like, I'm not a big fan of raw vegetables at all, but vegetables prepared in a certain way, like oven grilled asparagus, delicious, or oven baked asparagus, delicious. Steamed broccoli is like actually awesome. Love all of these things. So I would say, yeah, mix in, start with one vegetable that you like and eat it as often as you can. And then try to find another one. And you'll notice, like, as you like one and you start to add more, like, your taste buds, they definitely shift. And your habits as far as what you'll eat and what you won't eat is an option. It's kind of cool to see going, starting with one vegetable and adding a second, then adding a third and a fourth. And then it's like, oh, now I just eat a whole bunch of vegetables. Like, that just kind of be what happened. So start with a little bit and then work your way up. Big M has arrived. Big M, what's up, dude? Drew, hey Steve, thank you for an amazing site. Go on. Drew, I'll pay you $5 for typing that later. Thank you. I've been following your articles and advice since January. I've gone from 339 to 288. Damn, dude. That's freaking awesome. That's what, like 1 million pounds you've lost so far? First and foremost, dude, congratulations, Drew. That is amazing. Please email me, contact@nerdfitness.com. Shoot me an email. I want to hear more about your story and when you feel like you'd be comfortable sharing your story on nerdfitness.com. Amanda says Texas needs a Steve and Stacy party. Maybe we can make that happen. Let's see. Hamlin wants to know from Facebook, do you have any non-negotiables in your life? Things, ideas, habits that you refuse to let go of? Hammy, do you mean like bad habits or things I refuse to let Great question. I probably play a few more video games these days than I should, but I'm not giving those up because it's quote-unquote market research. Let's see, Lauren wants it back. Updates on Rising Heroes. Yes, for you guys asking, Rising Heroes is this video game fitness tracking program that we are hard at work on. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's turned into just a monster of a task. And people can sign up to get more updates and information at risingheroes.com. Honestly, the issue I'm running into now is just I'm stretched in a whole bunch of different directions. And there's this one big project that we're trying to push out the door. We should hopefully be done with it next week. And then I can make this as like an announcement we haven't announced anywhere on the site yet. As soon as we can get this thing out the door, then I can devote a lot more of my time to Rising Heroes, and I can't wait. Honestly, like if I had to pick one passion project moving forward, it would be Rising Heroes, because I've spent so much time playing games like EverQuest and Legend of Zelda and old school role-playing games like Earthbound and Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Secret of Evermore, Secret of Mana. I love that video game style of exploring massive worlds and leveling up a character. And I've had this idea for Rising Heroes for, geez, honestly, since probably Nerd Fitness started, so about 4 years ago. And now we're finally at the point where we have some developers and some funding, taking money from Nerd Fitness and dumping it into Rising Heroes to make it happen. So it's slow. I really, really thank you for your patience. It's definitely frustrating to me as well that it's not going as fast as I would like. But it's not going anywhere. And I'm glad, although it is going slowly, it's definitely deliberate that we are doing it in this way, because I want it to remain a Nerd Fitness project, and I want the people that are playing it to feel like it's their game. I don't want it to be like this thing that a bunch of venture capitalists get their hands on, and then all of a sudden we have to change it up 6 months from now when they're looking to get paid back, or something like that. Or they decide that the revenue model that we're using is different than what they want, and all of a sudden you have to fill this thing up with ads and things like that. That is not my intent, and that's not what I want. I want to build a game by a nerd for a bunch of nerds that allow us to really have a lot of fun with it and encourage us to get off our butts and go outside and work out. Colleen, thoughts on fasting? I'm actually doing it right now, believe it or not. I am a huge fan. I've been reading a considerable amount of leangains.com. I was always a big fan growing up, and I, with my training over the past 8 years and I realize I'm in the complete minority here, but I'm in the process of trying to put weight on and build muscle. And the tactic that the only tactic that I knew for so long was bulking up and then cutting back down. You bulk up and then you cut up a whole bunch, and bulk up and cut a whole bunch. So instead, I'm following this tactic with lean gains, where instead of eating a whole bunch for 2 months and getting really big and putting on a bunch of body fat, instead of that, I'm trying to stay super lean and instead just put on muscle. I don't know if it's going to work. I've been at it for about 6 weeks now, and so far so good. I cut out breakfast, and breakfast was my thing. Like, I used to eat breakfast. That was my favorite meal of the day for sure. And now my first meal of the day generally comes around noon. So what I'll do is I'll wake up. I won't eat a thing. I'll go exercise around 11 a.m. and I'll exercise in a fasted state. And that was definitely a challenge for me. I think for the first week or two, I was very sluggish working out. My mornings were very kind of grumpy because my body was used to and had this habit of, I'm expecting a lot of calories, 1,000 calories, whatever it was. I'm expecting a really big breakfast right now, and I'm not getting it. So, however, after the first week or two went by, now honestly, I don't miss breakfast at all. And before, I didn't have a lot of energy while working out without eating beforehand. Now I have no problem getting through my entire workout without eating beforehand. I can work out in a fasted state and still get all of my workout done and add extra weight to the exercises that I'm doing or get stronger. So then I condense all of my eating, and I'm still eating the same number of calories, essentially same number of calories, maybe a little bit less than I was eating before, but I've condensed it into a 8-hour window. So from noon until 8 p.m. is when I get all of my calories, and then I'll fast from 8 p.m. until noon the next day. I'm actually in the process. We're going to put together probably like a typical Steve Kamb 4,000 word post on intermittent fasting coming up. Once I get through a couple more weeks of this and see how my thoughts go and things and see how things progress for me. I believe actually Stacy's on a similar path of intermittent fasting and timing her carbohydrates and things like that, but that gets a little bit more advanced. I think for somebody that's in the process of trying to lose some weight and doesn't want to jump too far into it, I think what you could totally do would be just to every once in a while just skip a meal and see how your body reacts. Skip breakfast one day or skip dinner one night, and then the next morning have your next meal and see what happens to your body and understand, like, am I hungry, or is it just I'm expecting to eat because I'm hungry? And if you're going to skip a meal, then make sure the meal before that is really big, so that you're kind of fueled. I love personally having like a really big dinner, so that way I'm going to be sleeping for like at least half of my fasting period. If I'm fasting from 8 p.m. until noon the next day, if I'm sleeping from midnight until 8 in the morning, I've already missed, I've already cut out 8 hours of potential hunger time. So I try to time the amount of the time that I'm fasting with my sleeping so that it doesn't, I'm not spending 16 hours thinking, I should be hungry. All right, Laurel asks, she's got a gym membership and the free weight section is always packed with bros who will stop and look at me like, oh my God, what is a girl doing in our section? And it's super intimidating. Oh, that makes me so angry. Yeah, that makes me really frustrated. I totally understand what you're saying. And I get you, and keeps you from going because it's always crowded and they always stare at you. Here's the thing, they're staring at you because you're different than they are, because you're not a jacked bro with, you're not a jacked bro doing bicep curls in the squat rack. So they're going to look at you regardless. Once you get over that initial fear. Oh, and here's the other thing. If you're really self-conscious about yourself because they're looking at you, I guarantee they are all thinking the exact same thing. Holy crap, there's a girl in here. Hopefully I look good. Do I look okay? Is she looking at him or is she looking at me? Should I do more bicep curls? Should I not? Should I do this? Should I do that? So while you are worrying about what they're thinking about you, they are thinking the exact same thing. No doubt in my mind. So the people that don't care, that's what they're thinking. And the people that do matter, the people that, I think if it was like a Nerd Fitness reader and he was a dude in the free weight section, his thought would be, holy crap, that is awesome. There's a woman in the free weight section. This makes me really happy. Good for her. So don't worry about the people that don't matter. And those that do matter will respect you for making that decision to go back there. As far as it's always being crowded, unfortunately, there's not much I can do for you there. You either got to kind of work out at a different time if the crowd is really the issue, or if it's just because it's a little crowded and it's intimidating. What I do and whenever I sign up for a new gym membership, it's always a challenge because you walk into a gym, you don't know anybody, everybody around you is looking at you because you're the new person. I kind of like embrace it, and that sounds really weird, and that's not me at all. I am deathly afraid of public speaking, and certainly feel awkward whenever I'm in a social situation where I don't know anybody. But in a gym, I found a way to kind of get over it. And by doing that, what I do is I put my headphones in, keep my head down, I do my own thing, and I kind of zone everybody else out. Okay. So hopefully that helped. Let's see, Patrick Wallace, for your retreat, you're DJing and you own a DJing company. Nerd moving and grooving. That sounds awesome. We can have a dance contest. Let's see. Yeah, sorry about the questions, guys. They come in really slowly, and hopefully we can find a way to kind of make that better. Let's see. Is there, Colleen's asking again, is there any benefit to skipping a meal to leave calorie intake for another time of day? Yeah, honestly, that's the research or and I'll see if I can track down some articles. Like I said, within the next 2 weeks or so, who knows, it might be a couple weeks after that. Within a couple weeks, we'll put in an article on intermittent fasting. But the thought process is, thinking way back again to ancient times, we didn't eat 3 square meals a day. Instead, we would eat at certain times, and then our body would use the fuel that we have in our systems to fuel ourselves if we only had time to eat once a day. It's not like if we eat 3 times a day and we miss one, like we fall apart and we can't work. Like our bodies still function, and there's a lot of stored energy in us that we can use. So the thought process is, and specifically when it comes down to working out in a fasted state, that when you work out in a fasted state, your body doesn't have all the stored carbohydrates that you generally tend to get from when you're eating ahead of time. So, if you eat like an hour before you work out, you're going to eat something with carbs, probably like, fruit or grains or something like that. When you work out, your body's going to immediately pull from that readily available source of energy. So if you fast for 16 hours, your body has already gone through all of the food that's readily available. It's, kind of slowing down, and then it gets to the point where it's like, okay, now you need to exercise. Your body, hopefully, the theory goes that it will pull from the stored food that you have inside and help you promote fat loss. Like I said, there's a website, and it's a little intimidating. So don't freak out if you read it and you don't know what's going on with it. But leangains.com, leangains.com, and also marksdailyapple.com, and just search for intermittent fasting. They both have really great resources, and both do a lot of citing and citing on. They provide a lot of sources for what you can offer. Sources on intermittent fasting and things like that. See, Jake wants to know, I know you're talking about getting new merch. Can we get a Nerd Fitness bumper sticker? Only if you come up with the tagline. How about that? No, seriously, yeah, dude. Honestly, I think we could totally make bumper stickers happen. What would you like to see on it? Laura wants to know, thanks for vegetable advice. I'll definitely try that. Also, what do you do after you cave and binge eat something bad? Get right back on track immediately. The worst thing you can do is beat yourself up over it and say, "Oh, I'm useless," and "Oh, I can't believe I can't believe I ate that whole thing," or "I can't believe I ate that. I know I shouldn't have." Then you get down on yourself, and then you look to food for more comfort, and then the cycle just continues to repeat itself. So my best advice is never miss 2. And by that, I mean if you're going to try to walk every day and you miss one day, that next day has just become the most important workout of your life. Because if you miss 2 days in a row, then all of a sudden 3 becomes infinitely easier than 2, then it's 4, then it's 5. All of a sudden it's 3 months later and you're like, what the heck happened? So never miss 2 in a row. Same thing goes for meals. If you eat a really unhealthy meal, that next meal is now suddenly the most important meal of your life. Get right back on track. I think I wrote an article called Mario Kart's Guide to Motivation, or the Mario Kart Motivation Method. And it talks about building up all this momentum. One really tiny speed bump does not affect you. And that speed bump is that one meal, that one cave and binge of eating something bad. So if you can avoid that one meal, if you can avoid making that one meal become 2, you can get right back on track. I eat bad stuff all the time. Like on a weekend, I think this past weekend, I had pizza. It's like, oh my God, Steve runs a website that's about paleo. How dare he? It's like, you know what? I'm not guilty. I don't feel guilty about it. I don't feel guilty towards myself. It was a decision that I made. I ate great this week. I was watching, what was I watching? The NBA playoffs with some friends, and they ordered pizza, and I was like, okay, great. I ate pizza. I drank a couple of beers. And then afterwards, I woke up on Sunday and got right back on track. And I'm no worse off. I think there's a good balance to be had between I going to do the best I can and try to eat the healthiest foods, and also I'm going to have a little bit of fun and not freak out if I eat something that's not healthy. So that's the kind of way I look at it. Like, just, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Kind of shrug your shoulders. Don't beat yourself up over it. Don't ride that super high if you're like, oh, I'm so happy that I did all these things for 5 days, and you take one day off and beat yourself up over it. No, slow and steady and keep an even keel, and you'll be much better off and far more likely to continue having success. Nerd Tour on the West. Oh, cool. Where in the West are you going, Paige? I might be out there at some point, possibly. I don't know. Crest Guild bumper stickers. We can maybe make that happen. Stacy and I will talk to our developers. Talk to our sort of manufacturers. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Hey-o. Big M says he'd be high-fiving females in the weight room. Yep, me too, 100%. The way I see it, and in every commercial gym, it's so funny. Like, you can predict it. Like, before you walk in, and I hate to be stereotypical, but in the 100+ gyms that I've probably worked out in over the past 15 years, the women are on the ellipticals, and the guys are doing bicep curls in the weight part, and that's it. That's like the extent of what happens in a gym. So when somebody crosses over and does something different, it's like jaw-dropping because they're not used to anything different. That's awesome. Be different. Embrace it. Like, wear that weirdo tag like a badge of honor. That's what I do. Like, I'm in the gym. I have like my Vibram shoes on. I'm in like a ripped t-shirt. I'm foaming at the mouth. My hair's all jacked up. I look like crap. And I'm in the gym, like, doing handstands against the wall while everybody else is doing bicep curls and like grunting between pull-ups with weight hanging off me. And I'm definitely like the oddball out in every gym I ever walk into. And initially kind of weirded out. I was like, oh, I better fit in. And then I was like, you know what, dude, that is the exact opposite of everything that you want to be. So I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with being the really big weirdo that works out in a really strange way. So, hi, Haley, I would definitely recommend you working out in the gym. I'm sorry, not Haley. Who was it? Oh yeah, and Stacy said that she did curls in the squat rack. So she just got. This is witnessing this live on the internet. Stacy, you're fired. Just kidding. Please don't quit. I think this whole operation would fall apart. So please don't. Thank you. If that would make you happy, go for it. Who was the one asking about the gym? Laurel. There we go. Sorry, Laurel. And yes, Haley makes a great point. She said, where was it? Haley says when she was in her gym, she thought they were staring at me, but they're really staring at themselves. Honestly, they only look when your form is spot on. That's a great point. They're too busy checking themselves out in the mirror, making sure their biceps look great when they're doing their bicep curls in the squat rack. Are we confessing? Amanda said. Yeah, this is a Nerd Fitness confessional. Everybody post your deepest, darkest secrets about your strength training. Are we confessing? Amanda says that she did squats in the Smith machine. You're fired too. You don't work for me, but you're fired. By the way, Amanda is the one, everybody, that has a Nerd Fitness tattoo. Did that like start to burn a little more when you're in the squat rack? I'm sorry, in the Smith machine doing squat racks? Did the dragon start talking and saying, "What are you doing?" Oh, cool. Whoever was asking about, I think it was Colleen, was asking about intermittent fasting. There's a lean gains thread in the Nerd Fitness message boards too. Mexican with Afro. That's a great name. I feel like I know a lot about you. Let's see. What would be a good routine if I go to the Y for a body pump class, cardio, strength training class, hitting all major muscle groups twice a week? What could I do in between? To be honest with you, I'm not tremendously familiar with body pump. I'll have to do a little bit more research into it, but I'm guessing it's probably like a circuit style workout that also mixes in some aerobics type stuff. If you do that twice a week, honestly, on your other days, long walks or maybe mixing in some yoga. I think it really depends on what your goals are, Miss Mexican with Afro. If your goal is to lose weight, then I would say mix in just some regular, just long walks on your off days are great. Or mixing in maybe some sprints or some interval training maybe. Along with that, just really put a big focus on your diet. Or if your goals are getting bigger, then I would probably recommend that you adjust what your, maybe only do one body pump class and then go to just a pure weightlifting or strength building class, or use your own time at the Y to do some strength building on the side. Echoes of Wonder. I did squats in the Smith machine too, and then I read Stacy's post and I was like, oh, that's what that was. Everybody confess. At one point in my life, yes, I used to do squats in the Smith machine too. However, since starting Nerd Fitness, I have learned better. And Amanda, I think you have learned better too. Oh, that was before you knew it was against the rules of the rebellion. And it was in the purple yellow gym. I think I know what gym you're talking about. There we go. Yaza just made a great suggestion. A Simple Guide to Intermittent Fasting by Dr. John Berardi of Precision Nutrition. I am not familiar with that particular book or Dr. Berardi. I don't know if he's anything like Dr. Mario or Dr. Acula, but if he is a good doctor and it's a great book and you recommend it, I'll have to check it out. See, Paige is headed to Colorado, Grand Canyon, and we just got a whole bunch of new questions. Colorado, Grand Canyon, Vegas, San Fran, Portland, Seattle, Sacramento, Phoenix. Starting and ending in Austin. That sounds like a hell of a summer trip. Can you tie me to the roof of your car and I can come along? Okay, I'm just kidding. Pixie, you're not fired either. You can stick around. And don't worry either. Yes, the Nerd Fitness site is getting redesigned, and it looks awesome, but the logo is not changing and will never change. I had the logo done before I had the website done. I drew it on a napkin, and I handed it to a friend of mine who's really a quality designer. And I said, dude, this is the napkin, or this is the logo that I want. Can you please turn this into something that I can then put on my computer, on my website? Oh, and if we are still doing confessions, Nerd Fitness confessions, like taxi cab confessions, but way more tame and awesome. I'm going to share. I'm going to share the story of how Nerd Fitness kind of got its kick in the ass. So I had the idea for Nerd Fitness, and I was running it as a blog and kind of writing a lot of writing some posts and not posts. You know, writing here and there, but wasn't really taking it very seriously. I was also working a full-time job. The reason I wasn't taking it very seriously is because I was dumping all of my time, energy, and effort into EverQuest 2, a game like World of Warcraft, but even nerdier, I think, and you know, kind of the precursor. Came before EverQuest. I'm sorry, came before World of Warcraft. And the computer that I had built myself, I was in some really like 10-hour dungeon raid or something, and my computer, the fan in it died and fried some components in the computer, and I couldn't afford to fix it. I didn't have enough money to fix my computer. So I couldn't play EverQuest anymore, and I told myself that I could not play EverQuest again until I took Nerd Fitness seriously and I made my first dollar through the website. I then decided, okay, that was a day Nerd Fitness was going to start taking it seriously. 18 months later, I put out my first ebook, which is the Rebel Fitness Guide, and this was, about 2.5 years ago. Finally put it out one day, and I walked up the hill to my friend Joe's apartment, and Joe had a shot, a beer, and an EverQuest 2 install disc waiting for me, and he said, "We've been waiting for you for 18 months." I played for a little bit, I got back into it, but at that point I was already hooked. Nerd Fitness was doing well, and I had way more fun leveling myself up and leveling up the business than leveling up a character in an online video game. So luckily, my computer blowing up is the reason that Nerd Fitness got together. All right, Elaine is wondering, skeptical about how you gain muscle with only body weight training. Due to some injuries, I cannot use weights, a little bit like you, but wonder how I can simply lift heavy with body weight training. Elaine, look at any, first of all, gaining muscle is probably 95% 95% done in the kitchen. If you're not getting bigger and stronger, then you're not eating enough. And that was a problem I didn't realize for 6 years. And it wasn't until I finally adjusted and started eating way more calories. And if you're trying to gain muscle and get stronger, first and foremost, you got to fix your diet. And if you're not getting any bigger, then it's because you're just simply not eating enough calories or not getting enough protein. But I'm guessing it's some combination of the two. As far as only building muscle with only body weight training, take a look at any gymnast in the entire world. You know, the guys that are on the rings and doing handstands and pommel horse stuff, those dudes are ripped. They're jacked. They have bowling balls for shoulders and massive arms and huge chests. They have plenty of muscle, and they build all of that through body weight training. So I don't know if you've read my, how to stay healthy, or how to stay in shape while traveling the world. I think if you Google stay in shape traveling the world, Nerd Fitness, it should be the first thing that pops up. How it works with body weight training, because you can't really lift heavy with body, like if you can do 20 push-ups, you're already at the point where you're just building muscular endurance instead of building strength and muscle. What you need to do is you need to increase the difficulty of the exercise. So as soon as I could do 20 push-ups, then I went to then I could only do 10 push-ups with my feet on a bench. And then from there I started doing jackknife push-ups where my feet were on a bench and my body was like this, and I was doing like almost upside down handstand push-ups. And then from there it was handstand push-ups. Now I'm working on things like planches, front levers, back levers, L-sits, things like that, like some really intense body weight holds and gymnastic moves. So you can absolutely build muscle with body weight training. You just need to increase the difficulty. So how it works is kind of like if you can complete anywhere from 1 to 5 repetitions of something, you're building strength and power. If you can complete something from 6 to 12, then you're building more size and a little bit less strength. Anything beyond 12 to 20 or anything above that, you're building muscular endurance, but not really size nor strength. So just doing 100 push-ups in a row and 100 squats is not going to build you muscle. But if you could only do 5, let's say, handstand push-ups, or 5 pistol squats, or hold a planche for 3 seconds, you're going to be building really strong muscle. Combine that, you're going to be incredibly strong. Combine that with eating enough calories. Like I said, the only way you're going to get bigger is if you overload your body. If you eat more than you're burning on a daily basis, you're going to get bigger. If you don't, it doesn't matter how much training you do, you're never going to grow in size. So if you're not getting any bigger and you're doing bodyweight training, increase the difficulty of the exercise so that you can only do up to 10 repetitions of something. 3 sets of 10 would be probably the 3-4 sets of 10 per exercise would be the upper limit as far as looking to build size and strength. As soon as you can do that, then it's time to increase the difficulty of the exercise. And you can make every exercise more difficult. You can do push-ups with your hands close together. You can work on one-handed push-ups. You can do work on doing one-handed pull-ups. You can do one-legged squats. There are all sorts of ways to make, really basic bodyweight exercises brutally difficult. Any tips on strength training if one side is weaker than the other? I have nerve damage on one side and I can really feel the difference. It throws off my balance since one side is weaker. That is a tricky question. Unfortunately, due to kind of legal reasons, I'm not really allowed to jump into medical advice and things like that. If you can shoot me an email after this, send me an email to contact@nerdfitness. We can try to point you in the direction of somebody that might be able to help you out, provide you a little bit more advice. But considering I don't know the extent of your injury or whatever, and I'm not a doctor, I am just a dude that likes helping people get healthy. Unfortunately, I can't really provide you with very specific advice on that front. So sorry, Kay, but shoot me an email and we'll see what we can come up with for you. There we go. Elaine chimed in and said Dr. Berardi, did a very good job on himself on intermittent fasting. Or a very good study on himself. So for me so far, just a quick, I'll give you I guess I'm 6 weeks into intermittent fasting. And I kind of enjoy it. There's just one less meal I have to worry about. And it makes me, it's been a challenge for me, and it's been fun to see that I can exercise at the peak level that I think I'm capable of without having to stuff a bunch of food down my throat specifically an hour beforehand. Now it's okay, I know I can go work out and I can come home and eat a really, really big, really healthy, high protein meal after working out and focus on just building muscle and not have to worry about doing this whole bulking way up and then cutting back and bulking way up and cutting way back. It's a yo-yo I'm not a big fan of. So I think I'm just going to stay really, really lean. I'm going to guess I'm probably somewhere around 11% body fat at the moment. So my plan is to hopefully stay really lean and allow myself to just pack muscle on from here on out. There we go. Okay, we just got a boatload of new questions. Pessimistic. I forgot to ask. I'm overweight, so I do want to start running. Maybe that was I don't want to start running, and I can't really sprint or do it for long. I feel I should just keep pushing until I eventually do. It's not intense or anything. Honestly, just go for long walks. I love walking. I think walking is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. So do not be afraid to just do some walking. Running, I'm hesitant to recommend running until you get to a weight that's a little bit better, just because your joints running can wreak a lot of havoc on your joints and things like that if you're not running properly. So instead of going on really long runs and kind of slapping and jarring all of your joints and bones and things like that, go for really long walks. Put a huge emphasis on changing your diet and mix some strength training in. And as your weight starts to drop, then you can start to pick up the pace a little bit on the running and go from there. What I would not recommend doing is just throwing on a pair of shoes, hopping outside, and just going for a 10-mile run, unless you've properly focused on kind of working on your running style. And I think I talk about that in an article. I think it's How to Not Suck at Running, or Beginner's Guide to Running, or something like that. but it tells you like, you know, where you should land on your foot and things like that. So if you are going to run, just keep it really short distances to start, and don't be afraid to go for really long walks. Like I go for long walks all the time, and you know, one of the most popular articles on Nerd Fitness is the Walk to Mordor article for A Hobbit's Guide to Walking, because it's just fun. You get to slow down, smell the roses, and go for long walks, and it's really great too because you're not burning up any of your carbohydrate energy, which comes when you're doing really high intense stuff. Instead, it's the thought is that it's just going to pull from because you're doing a lower intense an activity with lower intensity, then it can pull from the fat storage in your body. Which is the same thought process behind when people get up and go for a long walk in the first thing in the morning and before they eat breakfast, because they haven't eaten in 8 to 10 hours. Your body, when you go for a long walk, has nothing to pull from. Therefore, the only thing it can pull from is going to be the fat stores in your body. EQ Hollow. I like this. Patty likes things. My confession, I'm not taking my copy of BioShock Infinite out of the bag or plastic until I have my college degree. Proverbial carrot on a stick to avoid senioritis. That is awesome. And I'm with you there. I really, really want to play BioShock Infinite because I thought BioShock, the original one, was one of the best games of all time. At the moment, I have Batman Arkham City waiting for me, but I can't play that until our super secret project next week gets completed. So as soon as that's done, then I can play. So that's the carrot at the end of my stick too. That sounded really terrible. That is the carrot. You know what I meant. Elaine, I just want to get stronger, not bigger. Perfect. Then just stronger, then you should be fine. You should you can definitely do with bodyweight stuff. I would really look into gymnastics type stuff. Goldmedalbodies.com runs a great website for beginners getting started. I'm good friends with those guys, and I highly recommend and fully endorse what they sell and how they offer it. They put things together in a really great plan and all those things. Here we go. As a fellow nerd, I'm an introvert and self-conscious being in front of a camera. How did you get comfortable being in front of the camera and posting YouTube videos that keep people engaged? Great question. Honestly, it's really weird. Like public speaking, I'm terrified of it. So like when I did like my talk at Google or my TEDx talk, or I was on Creative Live a couple weeks back, terrified beforehand, like sweating buckets, like pacing back and forth, just complete nervous wreck. And you can generally tell, like the first sentence I say in every one of my talks, I'm like, I feel like a 13-year-old kid that hasn't hit puberty yet. But after that, like I kind of get settled down. So in those moments, I kind of learn and read off of the audience. When it comes to YouTube videos, it's really weird because I am alone in my apartment and I'm talking to a wall of chat questions. Like I don't even see myself and I can't see you guys. So it's kind of weird to keep up the intensity and all these things. But it takes practice. I've seen lots of really terrible videos from people, and then 6 months later, they keep at it and they get better. Best advice is watch some of the people that you really enjoy and how they do that in front of, what their videos look like, and see if you can emulate some of those things. On top of that, it's okay to kind of overdo it. I think because a lot of people don't get a chance. It's okay to kind of be a little bit over enthusiastic. In your mind, you feel like you're over enthusiastic. In reality, you're probably right on. Like for me, when I'm talking in public, I have to remind myself to talk very slow, because in my mind it sounds like a snail's pace. In reality, it's probably really fast. Like today, in my mind, I sound like I'm talking normally. To you guys, it probably sounds like I'm talking really fast, and it's because of my mom. She talks she's got like a machine gun voice. Like she could rattle off 60 sentences in 60 seconds, no problem. So I think for me, my nervous tick is to talk way too fast. But I've definitely had to work on it, and it just comes from practice. Let's see. Mexican with Afro. I went to Poland the other week. Flight was hecka long. Want to exercise on the plane, but wasn't sure what to do besides squats. Have you ever exercised on your international flights? No, I haven't. And for me, honestly, it was more of a safety reason. Like, I didn't feel like doing push-ups in the alleyway or doing lunges was appropriate. You could maybe, walk back, especially if it's like a night flight, walk back halfway through the galley and speak with one of the women, women or men that are speak with the people that are working on the plane and say, and ask them if, there's only like that open area by where like they make the meals and stuff, and if they're in between shifts or if they're waiting on things, you can maybe do something there. But I would definitely ask somebody first, otherwise you might be confused for somebody that's trying to do something inappropriate on the plane, and then you end up in handcuffs. And yeah, so I generally tough it out and I walk off the plane stiff as a board and miserable, and then I try to I'll stretch in the airport or something. But yeah, I just get up and walk frequently. Like I kind of walk the aisles and things like that. Let's see. Amanda, oh, thanks. I'm glad to hear you're enjoying this. I'm having a lot of fun. We can probably do another like 20 minutes or so. I think 90 minutes is probably a good length for these things, maybe 60 to 90, somewhere in there. But honestly, I have a lot of fun with this, and it's so much fun connecting with people, and it's fun to show people that hopefully how I write is exactly how I talk. Like that was the big change for me to make when Nerd Fitness kind of went from like this kind of small blog that I wasn't really sure of to like this thing that I enjoyed writing and people enjoyed reading. It's when I finally started to write like my voice. Except that I've actually been pretty good. I think I've avoided swearing a whole bunch on this, and I tend to not have the greatest mouth in the world. So I'm proud of to pat myself on the back for that one. Let's see. Echoes of Wonder. I will be talking to coworkers and I will catch myself staying. But Steve says, hopefully Steve says good things. Colleen, what's the right mix of macronutrients? Honestly, I think it's different for everybody. I don't think there's like one golden rule of what you should eat and what you should, what percentages. And honestly, I don't get too bogged down in percentages because I think it could drive you crazy. Unless you're like a very analytical, number, data-driven person, I think that's more of a recipe for disaster. Instead, like I would pick one day where like you kind of get close and you feel good about it. The advice that I have heard and the advice that I try to adhere to, specifically when it comes to weight loss, and I'm not sure where it is, but where it is on the site, but Mark's Daily Apple has a great, it's like a carb chart, and it tells you like, where you should try to keep your carb amount. And I think it's anything under 100 grams of carbs per day is like optimal for weight loss, or anything under 150 is maybe maintenance, and then anything above 150 is, recipe for potential weight gain. So I try to keep carbs under 100 if I'm in the process of trying to lean out. Obviously, I mix more in there if I'm building muscle and trying to get bigger. And that just kind of proves the point further that when I am trying to put on weight and get bigger and make myself have larger mass, the thing that I increase in my diet is carbohydrates. So what I recommend doing is try to, if you can keep an eye on your carb intake, and let's say it's, maybe aim for 150 grams or less, 100 grams or less, depending on, how much weight you need to lose, and it'll depend specifically on you. Beyond that, I think I try to aim for 1 gram of protein per lean pound of body weight. And that might sound a little confusing, but you take essentially, like if you have, let's say 20% body fat, that means the rest of your weight is 80%. So you take your weight and you take 80% of that weight. Let's say you weigh, just make it easy, 200 pounds. And then you cut, and then, you have 20% body fat or something like that. Then you would try to aim for, you'd cut 80% of 200 pounds would be 160. I hope I do that right. Yeah, well, if I did it right, great. If not, then you can make fun of me later. And then I try to aim for 160 grams of protein there, and then the rest of the nutrients should come from from healthy fats is the way that I look at it. So like if you can kind of figure out what those two are, then you can mix the fat in there. I will tell you that guys like Mark from Mark's Daily Apple and myself and Stacy, when we're losing weight or when we're at like that really low body fat percentage, I want to say probably at least 50% of my diet comes from healthy fats, which seems crazy. Like that's a lot of fat's a lot of fat, and fat makes you fat. And whatever. Hopefully you've learned through Nerd Fitness now that fat in fact does not make you fat, and it is the carbs and sugar and things like that do. So if you can keep the carbs under control and get enough protein, then the rest of your how much you eat should work itself out by either eating more protein or eating more fat, and then just load up on vegetables to make sure you feel full, because vegetables are great. Hammy, it's a super secret project. Why would I tease you? Because I can. Because I wanted to do the evil laugh. So there you go. Oh, Alan, listen to I did an interview with Gold Medal Body on their podcast. Let's see. When was that? A couple weeks ago? Yeah, I love those guys. Honestly, they're great. Really, really good dudes, and they know their stuff. So if you're into gymnastics and you're interested in building, a gymnastic type body, check out their stuff. It's goldmedalbodies.com. Okay, I totally talk way too fast. Okay, Amanda says she sets her goal to about 50% fat too. Paige, thank you for my evil laugh. Yeah, honestly, I wish I could tell you about this sooner, but we're close. Actually, as soon as we get off this call, Stacy and I are going to hop on a Google Hangout ourselves and hopefully put some finishing touches on this thing. So we're close. We're just not there yet. And I generally tend to tease everything up front and let people know what we're doing, so then it's available. But I think this one I'm going to try something different and say, boom, it's available. Check it out. So we're not there yet, but we're very close. And while we're waiting for these other questions to stream in, I know we had, hold on one second. We quick hop on Facebook, because I know there's a couple other questions on there that I really liked that I want to answer. Let's see. So we had a couple questions. First one was, what's my favorite swear word of all time? That's a great question. Honestly, I don't know if I have a favorite swear word. And if I did, I don't know if I'd be able to say it on this. So let me think about that one. I'll get back to it. This next one, there was actually two really great questions here. The first one was, what are your thoughts on CrossFit? And the second question was, who is your favorite Lost character? So we can come back to these. Come back to the other one. How do I feel about CrossFit? I'm a big fan of about 2/3 of it. I absolutely love the community that gets built at the gym. I love that everybody in a CrossFit gym knows each other. I love that. That's amazing to me. So I love the community aspect of it. I love that it brings in some of the best athletes in the world. The thing that I don't like about CrossFit is that a lot of the programming, and it really depends gym to gym, but I'm not in agreement with like the really high repetition Olympic lifting moves. Like if you have to do 30 snatches or 30 clean and jerks or 30 like really intense exercises that are meant to be done only on a 1 to 5 rep range, I think that's where a lot of injuries happen. And I think due to the focus on speed rather than quality of reps, and there's such an intense pressure that you want to beat your time from before, whatever. There's such an intense pressure on you to kind of cut corners here and there with repetitions in order for you to finish in a better pace, which generally leads to injury. And last but not least, I just personally, I don't like feeling like I want to throw up after every workout. And due to my competitive nature, that's what I would do. I've been to CrossFit like 3 times, and all 3 times I think I was on the verge of puking, just because I refuse to like take it easy. And like that's encouraged. Personally, that's just not my thing. Like I really like to enjoy my workouts. So like I kind of take my time a little bit, and I'm sweating buckets by the time I'm done with my workouts now, but it's done at my own pace and done in a way that makes me feel good about myself, and I enjoy it. So if CrossFit works for you, more power to you. But if you're not a big fan of it, don't beat yourself up. It's certainly not the end of the world. Patty likes things. Let's see. Matt was saying, so similar to keto diet, but with enough protein. Not necessarily. I think keto is more like almost no carbs. Is that right? So you can have the whole ketogenesis thing. I think making your carbs come from a boatload of vegetables is more of the principle of particularly I'm a fan of the paleo diet for weight loss to an extent. Like I said, I certainly eat things here and there based on my particular athletic goals at the moment, whether it's to get bigger or whatever. But whenever I'm losing weight or trying to lose weight, then it's definitely I move to the cutting back on carbs significantly and instead increase protein and try to eat more vegetables and cut back significantly on grains and carbohydrates. Patty, burning question. How did you escape Massachusetts without the Boston accent? Did not spend enough time there. Actually, I grew up in Cape Cod, which is why I don't have a Boston accent. Both of my parents are from suburbs. My mom's from the suburbs of Boston. My dad's from Western Massachusetts. And neither of them had the accent, so I don't. That being said, I can, wicked retarded and how do you like them apples and things like that. If necessary, I can turn it on just to have fun. But I just never had it, which is funny. So I get that question quite a bit. So I'm sorry that I'm disappointing you that I do not have a Boston accent. It's an NF Death Star. That's true. It's just not fully operational yet. Big M. Hammy, yes, there is still a plan for Women's Guide. We're targeting end of May, probably early June for that release. So that's the other thing. So those are like the two big things that Stacey and I are working on at the moment. Would be this secret project and the Women's Guide. So as soon as Secret Project gets finished up, and Stacey and I have been working on the Women's Guide forever. I mean, I think we started talking about that last summer, and it just, we had all these other things that we were trying to do. And for a company of, it's funny, most people don't realize, but Nerd Fitness is run by myself. Stacey is full-time, and then we have Taylor, who is part-time, and he works in DC. And like, that's the company, like that's Nerd Fitness. That's it. So we have a lot of things happening and a lot of things to do, and we're getting pulled in all sorts of directions. But those are the big things that we're currently working on. Would be the Women's Guide and this Death Star that may or may not be operational yet. No, Lauren, that's not it. It's not a product booker app. I told you it's a Death Star. Paige wants to know what my favorite song is. Great question. My favorite song is by the Avett Brothers, and the song is called If It's the Beaches. I discovered it through the TV show Friday Night Lights, which is probably like my second favorite show of all time behind The Wire or Breaking Bad. And yes, I have seen that Family Guy clip where they make fun of people that say the best shows are The Wire and Breaking Bad. It's because they're the best shows out there. But I'm a huge, huge fan of Friday Night Lights, which took place in Texas about a high school football team. And I highly recommend everybody check it out. Even though it's about football, it's not really about football. It's more about living in a small town and what life is like in high school growing up. So highly recommend everybody check out Friday Night Lights. Anyways, in one of the episodes, they used a song that I instantly fell in love with, and it became my favorite song, and it's called If It's the Beaches. And it was just used so perfectly in the show. And I'm actually headed to see the Avett Brothers here in Nashville in a couple of weeks, and I'm hoping they play it. I saw them once before and they didn't play it, but that's okay. As far as favorite band right now, this is probably no surprise to anybody because I talk about them every 3 seconds on Twitter, and I saw them last week, and I'm seeing them in Boston after our Boston Nerd Fitness meetup. But the band is called Need to Breathe. They're from a town called Possum Kingdom, South Carolina, and just great guys. They were actually on the rock boat, that cruise I went on back in February, and I got to teach some of them how to play craps and grab a beer with them after the shows, and just really, really great guys, really humble, but phenomenal musicians, and they write great songs. If anybody wants to check them out, the songs I would recommend would be The Outsiders, Devil's Been Talking, Something Beautiful, and what's the other good one? One of their slower songs is Stones Under Rushing Waters. So That favorite song, If It's the Beaches. Favorite band, Need to Breathe. Oh, and I forgot to answer that other question on Facebook, which was, what was my favorite Lost character? That's tricky. I would say probably Desmond. I thought he just had such a great storyline, and one of his episodes in particular, the one with him and Penny and the Constant, was probably my favorite episode of the entire series. Plus, he had a great accent, and when he said, "I'll see you in another life, brother," was like the best. So I actually started calling a lot of people brother now as a result of that show. So thanks, Desmond. And let's see. Oh, we got a whole bunch of more questions coming in. Yeah, okay, we just got like a bazillion comments. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to answer this last string of questions, and then there might be some more things coming in. Okay, I'm sorry, dude. I'm butchering your name, Matej. Matej. It says keto is no more than 50, usually only 20. That's like really, really low carb. To be honest with you, I've never actually gone that low. I like to keep it at least above, somewhere between 50 and 100. I think is acceptable, and even 100, 150 is more than okay. Amanda, I had no idea you were born in Dennis. That's great. I was born and raised in, born in Boston, but born and raised in a town called Sandwich. Actually, East Sandwich, to be exact. Elaine, my 8-month-old likes your voice. You calmed him down. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Probably because we both have the same, we both same level of maturity, so I can see how that would work out. Dave, welcome to the party. I tried your beginning workout for the first time. I was able to do 2 sets, but smashed my legs and they were still sore 3 to 4 days later. Is it better to do them every 3 to 4 days? Yeah, that's more than okay. What I would recommend is doing some active stretching on maybe 2 days afterwards, or doing just like a really light version 2 days afterward, just kind of get the blood pumping. Especially when you start, like that first time, it's always 2 days after. They call it delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS for short. And so it's always that second day that is brutal. So either on that second day you can do a little bit of work and kind of work yourself back into it. But especially when you're starting out, more than okay to take a couple extra days. Just make sure you're keeping your eye on your diet and what you're eating, and that's more than okay. Big M, so you're saying you're hiring? Not yet. Well, who knows? Maybe not. Nerd Fitness is getting to honestly, Nerd Fitness is already bigger than anything I could have imagined. But it's just a testament to how great you guys are and how amazing this community is. I feel really honored every day to be a part of it and to get a chance to connect with you guys. And hopefully I can do this more often. I wish I got a chance to spend more time in the message boards, but I'm trying to have this thing called a life a little bit here and there. And it's not working out too well. I still work all the time and have so much fun with it because I really enjoy what I'm doing. But I'm also trying to mix in some things. Like I'm now on playing a pickup basketball league, even though I'm terrible. And I'm start going to capoeira because my doctor gave me the approval that my spine's going to be okay and I can try it out and things like that. Another memory scarred. I'm a somewhat fit person, but when I do push-ups, my elbows start to feel tingly, and it's just a sensation that is weird and uncomfortable. Interesting. When you do your push-ups, do you flare your elbows out to the side, or do you keep them really tight? I would recommend keeping them tight. That being said, to be honest with you, have never had tingly elbows when doing push-ups, so I'm not quite sure what the response would be there. So unfortunately, I don't know exactly if it. I would recommend, like, if it hurts, don't do it. But if it's tingly and weird, like, see if it's something that goes away. Like if you work on them and it becomes less apparent. Wish I had a better answer for you, but I'm just a nerd, not a doctor. Hammy loves the Avery Brothers, of course. Patty C and the Avery Brothers in Atlanta. Awesome. Oh, Matthew. Sorry, Matt. To you. I blew it. Are you guys, Patty wants to know how he rivals with West Sandwich, an essential sandwich, the feeling of this feud. What's funny is actually, so there is Sandwich, there's East Sandwich, and there's South Sandwich. But there's no West Sandwich, Central Sandwich, or North Sandwich. Doesn't make any sense either. Hammy had a random person walk by her in Denver and say, "Loved your article on Nerd Fitness." What? That is awesome. Stacy gets recognized like twice a day, I think, these days. She's like, "Are you Stacy from the Nerd Fitness website?" My favorite encounter with a Nerd Fitness reader was probably in Portland. I was sitting on a bus headed to visit a friend's house. This is last summer. And I saw a guy walking down the street wearing a Nerd Fitness t-shirt. I really jumped out of my seat and pulled on the make the next stop thing. Stopped, and the next bus wasn't coming for like 45 minutes later. It's like, I don't care. I need to go talk to this guy. It was the first time I had seen a Nerd Fitness shirt in the wild. So I pulled the emergency, or not the emergency thing, but I pulled the cord, got off the bus, and ran the dude down. And I said, "Hey, man, I like your shirt." And he kind of looked at me funny because he wasn't expecting anybody to talk to me. He goes, "Thanks." And I go, "I am Steve." And he goes, "Nice to meet you." Whoa. Are you that Steve? I was like, "Yes. Thank you for buying the shirt. Thanks for reading Nerd Fitness." It was really cool. So I got a picture with him. So that was probably like the funniest thing that I had experienced. But I tackled this poor guy in the street corner as he was walking down the street with the Nerd Fitness shirt because I thought it was so freaking cool. So that was my favorite story. All right, guys, it is almost 8:30, and I have this Death Star to build. Like I said, it's not operational yet, but not completely operational. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out with me. I had a lot of fun doing this, and good to see some friendly faces in here. This made it a lot more fun. I wouldn't say a lot more fun, a lot less nerve-wracking.